How y'all doing? I'm pretty much recording this just in general for my own evidence, pretty much. It's my '99 Lincoln Navigator. I took it to a shop up in Bedford Heights just to get some stuff done to it. Pretty much all I asked for them to do was just to replace the spark plugs, and I also added a radiator flush, but that's about it. When I took the truck because it has lack of power in it, so I didn't know exactly what was going on with it. But from prior experiences of messing with cars and stuff like that, something told me just to just get a tune-up on it. So that's pretty much what I did. I took it to a shop up in Bedford Heights, like I was saying, and supposedly they kind of replaced the spark plugs and stuff and did the radiator flush and everything. When I first took it there, all it was doing, it just had slack of power to where it wasn't running, like it was supposed to. It wasn't stalling out and shutting off and all this other crazy stuff. When I got it afterwards, the same day that I picked it up, it was acting up more than what I had dropped it off. I picked it up around closing time because when I took it in, they said it was going to take about 4 hours for them to do the actual job. It needed to be done because I just had back surgery done 2 weeks, prior to me taking this vehicle into them. That's the reason why I even took it in. Otherwise, I would have been doing it myself, but I couldn't because of my situation in hand. I took it in to get the spark plugs replaced, like I said, and got a radiator flush. When I got it back, it was acting up a lot more than how I dropped it off. The same day that I picked it up, it was closing time, close to closing time. I would say about 15-20 minutes to closing time. I picked it up, took off with the truck. When I was going down the road, it started kind of stalling out on me and stuff. It didn't shut off completely, but it started to stall and everything on me. I called the shop right after I left from there, let them know what the situation was. Nobody answered the phone, so I just continued to head home. Once I got home, I just parked the truck where you see it parked actually right now, and just waited to the next day to call them. Early in the morning, I got up and called them. I spoke to one of the secretaries there. I can't recall her name at the time, but I spoke to one of the ladies. I asked to speak to the manager that I had spoke to on the phone prior to me taking the truck in. And I told him what my situation was, and he told me to bring it back in and they would take a look at it. So I did such thing, and within, I would say, about an hour, right after I finished talking to him, I took it back down to them, and pretty much they took it to the back, did whatever it is that they did. They brought it back to me and told me that, it was fine. I told them the situation, that it was, acting up on me and everything, and they pretty much didn't want to listen. I told him, I'm not a certified mechanic, but I do know what I was talking about, and it didn't seem like, it was running right. I mean, you don't have to be a mechanic, what I'm saying, to have common sense like that, So I told him that, something wasn't right, what I mean, it's acting up more than what it was to. His answer to that was that just because the spark plugs was just changed, that the computer had to read it, what I'm saying, and in time it will go back to its original running matter. So I override my own, my own thoughts about it. I knew there was something fishy about it. I should have known better, but I override, what he said. I just took it like what he said. I figured, he's a certified mechanic. He knows what he's talking about. So I left it at that. I took off with the truck. When I took off with the truck, as I was pulling out from the service area itself, it didn't do anything. It actually was running a little bit better. So whatever it is that they did, actually, fixed the problem that it was doing when I first took off with the truck a day prior. Once I hit the freeway that same day, the truck started acting up real bad, actually worse than when it was before. I pulled over to the side. I called the gentleman. I told him, that I have, that is acting up pretty bad and stuff like that. His answer to me again was that, that the truck itself, what I'm saying, it was gonna, it's just the computer's readings, the spark plugs that they just installed and stuff like that, which really didn't make no sense to me because I have done this prior. So I told him, that didn't make no sense to me, and he just kind of tried to turn it into an issue. So I just let it go, and I just told him on the phone that, if anything, happens from that point on because of what he's saying to me, they're gonna end up fixing it. So he was like, no problem, what I'm saying, and that's pretty much what our conversation is. Well, point blank, this is what happened. I got it home. It was leaking oil. I took a look at it. There was oil coming out from the side and everything, which it wasn't happening prior to me taking it in for them to change the spark plugs and stuff. And now it's doing it. So I already knew right off the bat there was an issue with that. I took it up on myself today. I would say, well, what is it, like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks later, to actually, take a look at this. And that's the only reason why it took me so long is because my surgery. Otherwise, I would have been on it, from day one. I probably wouldn't even have took it in because I know how to do the stuff myself. And I have friends that are, mechanics, certified mechanics that would have came out here and fixed it for me. But at the time, I just couldn't find anybody. Everybody was busy, and I wanted this truck running before it started snowing. It's already December 16 on a Sunday, and of course it's not snowing. That's my top of luck, but that's pretty much the situation in hand. What I wanted to point out to you is how my truck came back to me. Now, it didn't look exactly like this because I have removed myself today a couple of things. I removed the cover where the ignition coils go. They're not spark plugs, they're ignition coils. They go on top of the spark plugs. And I wanted to see where the oil was coming from, and pretty much that's where it was coming from. So I removed that myself to check what was going on. As I was taking that out, the cover itself, this stuff right here that's in this bag, which I'm going to show you here in a second. I'm trying to hold the phone and show you this at the same time. This is the coils. This is one of the coils covers right here. This is one of the coil covers that came out. This is the coil itself, and it's, Jesus Christ, sorry about that. It's pretty much completely, torn apart. This is how it came out. It was still plugged in. There's nothing wrong with the plug itself, but the coil was completely torn apart and just hanging from where it's supposed to be at. It was just like literally hanging, like torn apart, as you can see there, burned out and everything. Before I even unplugged it, it was already in pieces. This is pretty much the rest of it. This is the coil spring that goes attached to the bottom of the coil. This is pieces from the actual plastic rubber thing that goes, the rubber cover that goes on top of the coil where the spring goes and everything. And that's pretty much what I was looking at. When I removed the cover, all that just flew out. I didn't take it out myself or anything like that. That automatically just came out by itself, including this spark plug that supposedly they have replaced, which look is pretty much damaged. I don't know if it caused it because of the driving, back and forth to them, or I don't know. The truck's been sitting for a while now since I got it back. I only drove it probably 4 times since I got it back. This is the spark plug supposedly that they had changed in it. It was completely out of place. I did not touch it, did not remove it from it. It just literally came out from once I removed the cover itself. All the other spark plugs are still intact. They should still be in there. I haven't really went into it. All I did was remove the cover, which, let me go back over here and show you this. This is the cover right here that goes on top of it. This pretty much sits on top of there where the covers go the opposite way, like, you know, the other way. Those are the rubber things that go on top of the coils to prevent it from going anywhere and anything like that. That's in decent shape. There's nothing wrong with this. When I took that out, I told you all that just that one coil was the one that was messed up. The spark plug flew out by itself. Did not remove it. It just came out by itself. Pretty much, that's what it came down to. This is the actual, you know, there's side of the coils where they go into. I mean, it's like completely all full oil everywhere. I mean, it's just self-explanatory pretty much. I wanted to see if I could get in there and show you. That's the first one from the front, which is the one that popped out by itself without being touched. That's like, you know, it just came out by itself once I removed the cover itself. So pretty much it wasn't put in there the right way. Otherwise, it wouldn't have had came out. So that itself cost for oil to come out and pretty much destroy the rest of them that's still intact in place in there. I have removed all the other coils because I wanted to see, you know, how bad it was. So some of the coils, I mean, three out of the 4 coils are in decent shape. I don't know if they work or not because I haven't tested them, but they don't look that bad, which I took them out. They should be right here in front. And I cleaned them out. This is one right here, one coil. I cleaned it out. I mean, it's kind of, you know, it's not that bad. It's still usable as far as I know right now because I haven't checked them electronically wise, but they ain't torn up or nothing. I mean, they look pretty much good, you know, everything intact. This one I took the cover off, which I showed you in the bag. It's still in there. I haven't, you know, I cleaned it out. This one, the same thing. It's pretty much, you know, all intact. Just cleaned it out a little bit. It's all in there. There's nothing wrong with it. As far as I'm concerned, you know, it's not blown down or anything like that until I check the actual electricity, but it's not all torn apart like the one that came out by itself when I first removed the cover. I wanted to check to see if there's anything else, you know, like any oil going into you. The other ones I haven't checked that out because I haven't took out the spark plugs themselves. The other one, like I said, you know, was pretty much out by itself once I removed the cover. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna use one of my wrenches. You know, I mean, it's not, you know, high class anything. This is just something, you know, that I work with, my own little tools, you know, but they work for me, so that's pretty much what I use. That's tape right there at the end. You know, I just added an extension to it so I'll be able to reach it instead of trying to, you know, break my head and trying to get it in there. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna do it on the second one, not the first. This is the first one where the first one came out. This is the second one next to it, which I'm gonna, oh, hold up, before I even do that, as you can see, this is all cleaned. There's only rust on it. There's no oil or anything like that on it. So I just want to check to see if there's any oil going into this one, because if it is, then we have ourselves